Imagine you're a businessman in Paris, 1925. A government official contacts you with an incredible opportunity. France is selling the Eiffel Tower. Yes, the Eiffel Tower. They're going to tear it down and sell it for scrap metal, and you have the exclusive chance to bid on it. You're excited. This could make you rich. You wire the money, you sign the contracts, and then the government official disappears because he wasn't a government official. He was a con artist, and he just sold you the Eiffel Tower, which he didn't own. And here's the craziest part. He did it twice to two different people and got away with it both times. His name was Victor Lustig. And this is the story of the most brilliant, most audacious, most absolutely insane con artist in history. A man who scammed millionaires, gangsters, and entire governments. A man who had 47 different aliases and spoke 5 languages fluently. A man who once scammed Al Capone and lived. If you think you know con artists, you haven't met Victor Lustig. Welcome to Timeless English Talks, where we bring you the wildest true stories that sound impossible but actually happened. If you love stories about genius criminals, impossible scams, and people who bent reality to their will, smash that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless. Let's start at the beginning. Victor Lustig is born in 1990 in what's now the Czech Republic. From a young age, Victor is smart. Too smart. He's charming, eloquent, and he has one very dangerous skill. He can read people. He can look at someone and know exactly what they want to hear, what they're afraid of, what they desire, and he uses that to manipulate them. By his 20s, Victor is running cons across Europe. Small stuff at first, card games on trains, fake investments, but he's learning, perfecting his craft, and then he moves to America. In America, Victor runs scams everywhere. He poses as a count, a businessman, a government official. He speaks perfect English, French, German, Italian, and Czech. He dresses impeccably, stays in the best hotels, and he scams rich people out of thousands of dollars. But Victor isn't satisfied with small cons. He wants to pull off something legendary, something nobody's ever done before. And in 1925, he reads a newspaper article that gives him the most audacious idea of his criminal career. The article says that the Eiffel Tower is in bad shape. It was only supposed to be temporary, built for the 1889 World's Fair, and now it's rusting. The city of Paris is spending a fortune maintaining it. Some people think it's an eyesore and want it torn down. Victor reads this and thinks, what if I could sell it? What if I could convince someone that France is secretly selling the Eiffel Tower for scrap metal? It's insane. It's impossible. It's perfect. Victor travels to Paris. He gets fake government stationery printed, creates a fake identity as a senior official in the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs, the department that supposedly oversees the Eiffel Tower. Then he makes a list of the biggest scrap metal dealers in Paris. These are wealthy businessmen who deal in tons of metal. If anyone would buy the Eiffel Tower for scrap, it's them. Victor sends each of them a letter on official government stationery inviting them to a confidential meeting at a luxury hotel. The letter says the French government is considering selling the Eiffel Tower, but it's a secret. They don't want the public to know yet because it would cause an uproar. 6 scrap metal dealers show up to the meeting. Victor greets them in an expensive suit, exuding confidence and authority. He explains the situation. The Eiffel Tower is too expensive to maintain. The government has decided to sell it for scrap metal, but this must remain absolutely confidential until the deal is finalized. He even takes them on a tour of the Eiffel Tower in a rented limousine, pointing out the structure, discussing the amount of iron, the value of the scrap. The dealers are excited. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But Victor has a problem. How does he choose which dealer to scam? He needs someone gullible, but also wealthy enough to pay a huge bribe. And that's when he notices André Poisson. Poisson is a successful scrap metal dealer, but he's an outsider. He's not part of the Parisian elite. He's desperate to prove himself, to make a big deal that will earn him respect. In other words, he's the perfect mark. Victor takes Poisson aside for a private meeting, and this is where Victor's genius shows. He doesn't just ask for money. No, that would be too suspicious. Instead, Victor acts nervous, hesitant. He implies that he's a government official who's not paid very well. He hints that facilitating this deal for Poisson could be beneficial for both of them. But he's taking a risk. He needs to know Poisson is serious. He needs, let's call it, a gesture of good faith. Poisson understands immediately. This is a bribe. And in his mind, this makes the whole thing more legitimate, because this is how government deals work, right? With bribes and corruption. Poisson pays Victor a huge bribe, plus the cost of the Eiffel Tower scrap. We're talking hundreds of thousands of francs. Victor takes the money and immediately leaves Paris. He goes to Vienna, checks into a luxury hotel, and waits. He's waiting to see if Poisson goes to the police. Because here's the thing, if Poisson realizes he's been scammed, he has two options. He can go to the police and admit he tried to bribe a government official, which is illegal and would ruin his reputation, or he can stay quiet and eat the loss. Victor is betting on option 2, and he's right. Poisson is too embarrassed to go to the police. He tells no one. He just quietly absorbs the loss and pretends it never happened. Victor reads the newspapers every day expecting to see a story about the scam, but nothing. Complete silence. And that's when Victor realized, this was so successful, I could do it again. So he goes back to Paris 6 months later, and he runs the exact same scam. Same fake government letters, same confidential meeting, same tour of the Eiffel Tower, different scrap metal dealers. And it works again. He sells the Eiffel Tower a second time, gets paid, leaves Paris. But this time, the victim does go to the police. The French police are humiliated. The story leaks to the press. Con man sells the Eiffel Tower twice, becomes international news. It's one of the most embarrassing moments in French law enforcement history. They launch a massive manhunt for Victor Lustig. But Victor is already gone. He's back in America running different scams, using different names. The French never catch him. But Victor isn't done. Oh no, he's just getting started. In America, Victor runs a famous con called the Money Box. He has a device that supposedly prints real money. It's a wooden box with rollers and chemicals, and Victor demonstrates it by putting a blank piece of paper in one end and pulling out a real $100 bill from the other end. Of course, it's a trick. The box already has real bills hidden inside, but the marks don't know that. Victor sells these boxes for thousands of dollars each. By the time the buyers realize the box doesn't work, Victor is long gone. But then, Victor makes a dangerous decision. He decides to scam Al Capone. Yes, that Al Capone, the most violent, dangerous gangster in America. Most con artists would avoid Capone like the plague, but Victor walks right up to him with a proposition. Victor tells Capone he has an investment opportunity that will double his money in 60 days. Capone is intrigued but cautious. He gives Victor $50,000. That's about $1 million in today's money. Victor takes the money and disappears for 2 months. Now, Capone is furious. He's ready to kill Victor. He's got his guys searching everywhere. And then Victor shows up, walks right into Capone's office, empty-handed. Capone is ready to shoot him right there, but Victor looks devastated. He apologizes profusely. He says the investment fell through, he couldn't make it work. And then Victor does something crazy. He gives the money back, all $50,000, untouched. Capone is shocked. Nobody returns money to Al Capone. Victor says he's embarrassed. He feels terrible. He just couldn't make the deal happen. And Capone believes him. Why would a con artist return the money? Capone feels bad for Victor, thinks he's an honest businessman who tried and failed. So Capone gives Victor $5,000 as a consolation for trying. Victor leaves with $5,000 of Al Capone's money, and Capone thinks he did Victor a favor. That's genius. That's not just a con, that's art. Victor continues running scams for years. He makes millions, lives in luxury hotels, wears expensive suits, dates beautiful women. He's living the high life. But then, in 1935, Victor's luck runs out. He gets arrested by the Secret Service, not for selling the Eiffel Tower, not for the money box scam, not for conning Al Capone. He gets arrested for counterfeiting. Victor had been printing fake money, real, actual counterfeiting, and that's a federal crime. They send him to Alcatraz, the most secure prison in America, the same prison holding Al Capone, ironically. Victor spends the last years of his life in prison. He dies there in 1947 at age 57. And here's the sad truth. All that money he made, all those scams, all that luxury, it's gone. He died broke in a prison cell. But his legend lives on. Victor Lustig is still considered the greatest con artist in history. He scammed thousands of people, sold the Eiffel Tower twice, conned Al Capone, and created scams that are still being copied today. So what's the lesson here? Because I'm not telling you this story to teach you how to scam people. The lesson is about perception and reality. Victor understood something most people don't. Reality is negotiable. What people believe is more powerful than what's actually true. He couldn't really sell the Eiffel Tower. He didn't own it. He had no authority, but he made people believe he could. And that belief